and welcome to the World of Wrestling podcast. I am Slim, as always. This will be one of the last episodes, obviously. Like I said, it's ending at the end of October. The last one will be the last Sunday of October. So yeah, I guess we will kick things off with NXT TakeOver 31. I'm not going to go into detail about the matches because it was a really good show and you should just go and watch it. So the show starts with Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano for the North American title. Really good match. Priest won by pinfall after hitting the Reckoning. Then we get Kushida versus Velveteen Dream. During Dream's entrance, he comes out as Dr. Emmett Brown from Back to the Future, since Kushida always dresses like Marty McFly. It was a really good match. Kushida won by submission with the hoverboard lock. Post-match, Kushida refuses to let go, and when he does, he continues to attack Dream, even after he was dragged off of him. Then we have Santos Escobar versus Swerve with the Cruiserweight title on the line. Pretty good match. Escobar won by pinfall after hitting a double underhook facebuster, which came after Swerve hit his head on the exposed turnbuckle while they were on the apron of the ring. During the match, Legado del Fantasma come down to help Escobar, but Anshani the Adonis come down to help Swerve and ran them off. We then get the NXT Women's Championship match between Io and Candice. Pretty good match. Io won by pinfall after hitting the Asai moonsault. Post-match, Toni Storm showed up on the Tron and said that she's coming for Io because she's now part of NXT. Also, we got the reveal of the mystery person who was going to show up at TakeOver, and it's a returning Ember Moon. That was pretty cool. Backstage interview with Ashani the Adonis, who says he got involved in the Cruiserweight title match because he has respect for Swerve, and he is sick of seeing Legado del Fantasma jumping people. Main event time, and it's Finn Balor defending the NXT title against Kyle O'Reilly. Awesome match. Balor won by pinfall after hitting the coup de grace. Post-match, Balor and Kyle O'Reilly shake hands, and Ridge Holland shows up from the other side of the barricade with a beaten Adam Cole draped over his shoulder before dumping him ringside. Ira come down to check on Cole. Just got an itchy nose. Yeah. So that's what happened there. Also, both Kyle and Balor got injured. Now, what does that mean for the Predictions Championship? Because as you know, I am the true Predictions Champion. It means that the cheat Kyle, who had to have people cheating to win so he could win the title. That cheat, he tied with me, so he got to keep it because of tie. Right, he got to keep it because of tie, which means he didn't beat me. Nobody beat me. Nobody beat me for the title. They had to cheat and screw me out of it. Right, it wasn't a win. It was a screw job. So now he's tied, which means that, he hasn't beaten me. I am still champion. I know I don't have the belt with me because, well, I did forget to grab it because I was also doing other things, recording other things, and I just didn't think, I should grab the title because I wasn't actually going to do it right now. Was not going to do the podcast right now, but I am anyway. However, right, back to the problem we have here is that Carl has cheated, and then he is retained because he can pick the same people as me, and he can just choose one or two different, which then when one of them wins and one of them loses, means we tie. Like, he's not a real champion. He has not beaten me for my title. He will not beat me for my title. And to prove that, I guess it's going to be at New Japan G1 Climax Finals. If they reveal the card, and the card is actually a proper card. Right, they might just reveal it and it's just a whole bunch of shitty matches. I'll still watch it, but we might do predictions for it. If it's a shit card, then I will postpone my regaining of the championship. I'll postpone that until Bound for not even Bound for Glory, for Hell in a Cell. Because Carl doesn't do Bound for Glory because he's a little pussy. And a prick. I've just got an itchy ear. So yeah, he's either going to defend it at New Japan or he's going to defend it at Hell in a Cell. And either way, I'm winning. Not only am I going to win at New Japan if we do that, I'll win at Bound for Glory. I'll win at Hell in a Cell. Then I believe there's a New Japan show on the 7th or something of November. I'll win there too. I'll win friggin' everywhere because I'm the best, I'm the champion, and no one can take my belt away from me. However, with saying that, the record book says that I lost my belt, which means that my 14th reign will come when I win this belt back. Because the record book says that I lost it even though it was all a screw job and I never truly lost it. So yeah. I will have held the predictions title the same amount of times as Randy Orton will at Hell in a Cell, obviously. Spoiler on my prediction. If there's 3 matches confirmed, we'll get to another one. No, we'll get to both of them too. So yeah, that's my little rant, I guess. It's not even a rant, it's more truth telling. That's that. Right, I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm the champion. Carl's a loser who can't even win the title fair and square. Can't beat me at all, right? Even if he retained his title, at least then he would have beaten me. So then he is the true champion, but he couldn't even do that, he had to tie. So now we'll just move on to Raw. How about that? We'll move on to Raw. And this week's Raw begins with Randy Orton, the new WWE Champion, in a couple of weeks. He's backstage. He says that he doesn't remember much from his ride in the ambulance, but at the end of Clash of Champions of the Clash of Champions match, he does remember being attacked by the Big Show, Christian, and Shawn Michaels. I seem to remember that too. Maybe that screwed me out of my belt. Don't know. Randy then says that because he was attacked by Show, Christian, and Shawn, and because Flair drove the ambulance, that caused him to lose the belt, lose his shot at the belt, he felt obligated to attack them all. Randy then goes into detail on his attack of all the legends last week. Randy then says that it's not over until he says it's over, and Drew still has hell to pay. Randy then challenges Drew to a Hell in a Cell match for the WWE Championship. If Drew wins, then it's over, and Drew cements his legacy. Drew then shows up in the room that Orton's in and attacks him, but Orton escapes and the two are separated. So that is officially announced, accepted. Cool, we're getting that match. Inside Hell in a Cell. Then we get Zelina Vega, Natalya, and Lana versus Asuka, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke. Very botched match. Once Asuka. I don't know why people keep calling it Oscar, but it's Asuka. Once she got in, it was much better. Asuka, Mandy, and Dana won by pinfall after Mandy hit a pump knee strike on Lana. Post-match, Nia and Shayna come out and surround Natalya and Lana. Vega sneaks away. Nia puts Lana through the announcer's table again. Pretty funny, that. Backstage, we see R-Truth, who was doing a mock draft, and there's a janitor behind him, and a ref shows up. Truth ducks a mop attack and says that Randy Orton won't get him, but trips over the bucket. Drew Gulak wins the 24/7 title. Truth says that they just got. Not by Little Jimmy this time. Yeah, he didn't just get got by Little Jimmy. We then see what happened last week between the Hurt Business, Apollo and Ricochet, and Ali. I don't know why I said Apollo and Ricochet and Ali, but the Hurt Business, Apollo, Ricochet, and Ali. Backstage, MVP walks up to Cruz, Ricochet, and Ali and says that starting on SmackDown, the draft is starting on SmackDown, but tonight he has an opportunity for one of them because there's an opening in the Hurt Business. He then tells them that they're all on the clock. Cruz and Ali leave, but Ricochet looks like he might take MVP up on that offer. We then have Dominic Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo versus Murphy and Seth Rollins. After Rollins and Murphy's entrance, but before Carrillo and Dominic's, we see what happened last week between the Mysterio family and Rollins and Murphy. Rollins also gestures for a mic that Murphy is holding, but Murphy doesn't give it to him, and Rollins has a go at him. Then Murphy has something to say, and he says that if Rollins wants Murphy to be his disciple, then Rollins needs to apologise to Aaliyah. Rollins has got Murphy and says that he went easy on Aaliyah, and if he wanted to, he could have released all the DMs between the two. Dominic and Carrillo then run to the ring and attack Rollins and Murphy. During the match, multiple times Rollins and Murphy argue, and Rollins keeps telling Murphy that he doesn't need him. Good match. Murphy and Rollins win by pinfall after Murphy hits a pump knee strike on a flying Carrillo. Backstage, we see Adam Pearce on the phone when Strowman shows up and says he knows Raw Underground won't be taking place tonight, but he wants a match. Pearce says that since Braun isn't a Raw superstar, he can't give him the match, but he can give him an exhibition match, which is the same as a normal match, but it's unsanctioned, but still there's like DQs and all that shit, so yeah, it's pretty much just, it doesn't count to their win-loss record, but no match in WWE counts to their win-loss record, because they don't care. Strowman says okay and leaves. Keith Lee shows up and tells Adam Pearce that he'll fight Braun. Backstage, we see Murphy and Rollins find him and says that everything he does is for the greater good and apologises for nothing. He does think that for what's been happening over the last couple of weeks, Murphy should apologise by him, and he's got until 10 PM their time, which was like 12? No. Yeah, it was 12, yeah. No, it can't be, it must be 1. I don't know. 10 PM their time. Oh, it depends on where they are, I guess. Where are they? Florida? So yeah, it could be 12. I don't know, whatever the hell it is. Goes from 11 to 1. So, yeah. We then get the KO show with Owens as guest Bray Wyatt. Kev says he doesn't want his intro and says that he feels different since he was attacked by the Fiend. Kev then says that tonight isn't about sitting down with his guest and talking. Kev gets rid of his own set. He then points at the Tron so that we can see what happened on SmackDown on the KO show. Kev then says he was paralysed by the Fiend, and it seems that all the Dark Tortured Souls have a problem with Kev because Aleister Black also has a problem with him. He then tells Bray to come down for a chat, but instead we get a new Firefly Funhouse. Bray calls Owens his friend and sings a song about friends, and Rambling Rabbit gets eaten by Mercy the Buzzard again. Owens says that they aren't friends, and they could have been until he was attacked on SmackDown by Bray. Bray issues a warning to Owens that on SmackDown he will find out what he has got himself into. Owens then storms to the back to find Bray, but he's attacked by Aleister Black on the ramp. We then see what just happened between Black and Owens. Backstage interview with McIntyre, and he accepts Orton's Hell in a Cell match. We then get a hype package for Braun. After that, we get the exhibition match between Braun and Keith Lee. Commentary says that normal rules apply, but the result won't count towards Braun's win-loss record. Short match, both men are counted out. Post-match, Braun sends Lee through the barricade. The two continue to brawl, and Lee sends Braun into the stage and then takes Braun off the stage to a table. We then get another Bianca Belair hype package where she proves why she's the smartest. Then we take a look at what just happened between Braun and Lee. Backstage we see Gulak, who is trying to get away from Truth, but Truth finds him and says Randy is wearing a good Gulak disguise. As Gulak goes to run away, he trips over a bin that had Tozawa in it. Truth eventually wins back his baby. Then we get the Hurt Business, that being Lashley and Benjamin with MVP versus Ricochet and Cruz with Ali. In between entrances, MVP gets on the mic and says that Hurt Business wouldn't have lost last week if Retribution didn't play with the lights. MVP also says that they will beat Retribution. Ali, Ricochet and Cruz come out, and Ali says he won last week because he stood up for himself. Ricochet then says that he is not joking, not joining the Hurt Business. I wrote joking for some reason. MVP tells Benjamin and Lashley to hurt them, but special emphasis on Ricochet. So yeah, especially Ricochet. Good match. Hurt Business might win by submission when Lashley locks in the Hurt Lock on Cruz. Backstage, we see Murphy walking, and he walks up to Aaliyah and apologises. She asks if Murphy is considering apologising to Rollins, and Murphy says, "I don't know." Backstage, we see the Hurt Business, and Ali shows up and tells MVP that he's all alone later tonight, but he wants MVP to bring Shelton and Lashley so he can beat them up too. Rollins then comes out so Murphy can apologise to him. Murphy comes out and Rollins says it's very simple and can be done quick. All Murphy has to do is apologise, then they can move on. Murphy hesitates and Rollins keeps trying to convince him to apologise. Rollins gets physical and with Murphy, who then attacks Rollins. The two brawl. Rollins brings out a kendo stick, but Murphy disarms him, and Murphy forces Rollins to apologise to Aaliyah. Murphy drops the kendo stick and Rollins attacks him, including thumbs to the eyes, and breaks the kendo stick over Murphy. Aaliyah comes down to stop Rollins, and she is followed by the Mysterio family. Rollins leaves, and the Mysterio family leave Murphy in the ring. Then we get Nia and Shayna defending the women's tag titles against the Riot Squad. During the match, Baszler dismantles Ruby. Really good match. Baszler and Nia win by submission after Baszler locks in the Kirifuda clutch. Post-match, Baszler makes Ruby pass out by not letting the other Kirifuda clutch. Backstage, the Profits say that they will win tonight when they team with McIntyre against Rudolph and Orton. McIntyre shows up and says, "Let's go." We then have MVP with the Hurt Business versus Mustafa Ali. Good match. MVP wins by DQ when Retribution shows up, and as it looks like Ali is going to help the Hurt Business, he rolls out of the ring, tells Retribution to attack Hurt Business. Hurt Business gets destroyed, and Ali causes Retribution to disappear because he's the leader, which was very surprising. Mustafa Ali is the leader of the Hurt Business. Very surprising, but very cool. Then we look at what just happened between the Hurt Business and Retribution. Main event time, and it's McIntyre and the Street Profits versus Orton and Rudolph. Good match. Orton and Rudolph won by pinfall after Orton hit the RKO on McIntyre. Moving on to AEW Dark, and this week has 11 matches. Next week has 14. So many matches. It's not meant to be that long. It's going to be friggin' 2 hours. That's as long as Dynamite. God. Ricky Starks is on commentary from the start. First match of the night is Kenzie Page versus Brandy with Dustin Rhodes. Decent match. Brandy won by pinfall after hitting a shot of Brandy. Post-match, Anna Jay attacks Brandy until Red Velvet comes down and attacks Anna Jay, who leaves the ring to get away. Then we get Ray Rosas and Eric Watts versus Jurassic Express, that being Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, with Marco Stunt. Pretty good match. Jurassic Express win by pinfall after the Extinction Level event on Rosas. Hype package for Luther, which has Jericho listing Luther's achievements and talking about facing Luther on Dynamite. After that is Chaos Project versus Anthony Bowens and Lee Johnson. Good match. Chaos Project win by pinfall after hitting the Spinebuster Meteora combo on Bowens. We then have Will Hobbs versus Ryzen. It was a good match. Hobbs won by pinfall with the Spinebuster. Post-match, Starks leaves commentary. Eddie Kingston then cuts a promo and says Janela and Kiss take everything like it's a joke, but they will not take the Lucha Brothers as a joke. Next we get 4 with Evil Uno versus QT Marshall with Dustin Rhodes. During the match, Uno gets involved multiple times, and eventually he and Dustin brawl to the back, which distracts the ref, and Grayson, 5 and 10 come down, but QT takes him out. Pretty good match. 4 won by pinfall after hitting a spin-out slam. Then we have Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. versus Cesar Bononi and David Ali. Good match. Garrison and Pillman Jr. win by pinfall after hitting a powerbomb clothesline combo on Ali. We then get Skylar Moore versus Big Swole. Decent match. Swole wins by pinfall after hitting Dirty Dancing. Matt Sydal then cuts a promo where he has a go at Michael Nakazawa for putting baby oil on the top rope at All Out. Then it's Matt Sydal versus Michael Nakazawa. Before the match, Nakazawa puts baby oil on the top rope again. During the match, Sydal cleans the ropes when he realises that there's oil on them. Short match, Sydal wins by submission with a Cobra Clutch while he had the leg STF'd. After that, we get Mbaru versus Eddie Kingston. Short match, Kingston wins by submission with a Kimura. Post-match, Kingston gets on the mic and says that when he locks in the Kimura, he will make Moxley tap. Eddie then calls Mox out. Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela then cut a promo on the Lucha Bros, and Janela says that they're aiming to get back on the top 5 rankings board, and tonight they are coming to kick some ass. Next up on the card is Sean Dean versus Angelico with Jack Evans, and Angelico wins by submission with an Indian Deathlock, while also having an ankle lock. Main event time, and it's the Lucha Brothers with Eddie Kingston versus Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Before the match starts, Janela and Kiss dive onto Kingston and the Lucha Bros. Good match, Lucha Bros win by pinfall after hitting the double foot stomp into a package piledriver. Moving on to AEW Dynamite, and this week's Dynamite is the 30-year anniversary of Chris Jericho. Next week is the 1-year anniversary of Dynamite. So, yeah. Dynamite this week starts with a talking head of AEW wrestlers talking about how influential Jericho has been. We then kick the show off with Brian Cage defending the FTW Championship against Will Hobbs. Starks and Taz are on commentary. During Cage's entrance, we see how this match has come about. Pretty good match. Cage won by pinfall with the dribble claw. Post-match, Starks comes down to the ring and Taz gives Will Hobbs credit for the match, and Taz also offers Hobbs the opportunity to join Team Taz, but if he says no, then Starks and Cage will beat the hell out of Hobbs. At that point, Darby Allin comes down and Cage and Starks leave. Taz says one day soon Darby will learn not to stick his head in Team Taz business. We then get some celebrities congratulating Chris Jericho on 30 years in the wrestling business. We then get a hype package for Lance Archer. From Lance Archer for their match for his net. Hang on. We then get a hype package from Lance Archer for his match next week for the AEW World Championship. That's what I was trying to say. Then we have TH2 versus FTR with Tully Blanchard in a 20-minute brush with greatness. I can't talk today. Which means tag titles are on the line. Backstage, Young Bucks are watching the match like how people in WWE watch TV, which means side on. So, yeah, it was pretty funny. Pretty good match. FTR won by pinfall after hitting the superplex into a splash on Jack Evans. Backstage, the Young Bucks super kick a cameraman. The Best Friends then come out and call FTR wieners. Best Friends then say that they are number 1 contenders, and Tony Khan said that their title match is next week. Best Friends and FTR brawl for a couple of seconds before FTR escape, but Best Friends get their titles and hold them high. Backstage we see MJF, who says that he is proud of and inspired by Chris Jericho. Then we get more celebrities congratulating Jericho. I'm just going to move for a second, just because I need to. Alright, that's not too bad, I guess. Let's put it there. We then have a look at the rivalry between Cody and Mr. Brody Lee. Then we have the dog collar match for the TNT Championship between Mr. Brody Lee with 4 and Anna Jay versus Cody with Arn Anderson and Brandy Rhodes. Doc Sampson and Greg the Hammer Valentine both get introductions to this match. Before the match, Brody gets on the mic and says that Cody is the reason he is here, and now Cody has to deal with him. During the match, Cody busts 4 open. Brody orders Anna Jay to get him out. Cody and Brody both get busted open during the match. Also during the match, Brody throws a chair at Arn as Arn gets in the ring. 3 comes out, but gets spine busted by Arn. Arn gets taken out by a punch with the chain wrapped around Brody's fist. Really good match. Cody wins back the TNT Championship by pinfall after hitting Crossroads. Post-match, Dark Order come out to check on Brody, and the Nightmare Family come out to check on Cody. We then have an in-ring interview with Cody by Schiavone, and Cody says that he's sticking with the fans and he wants to defend the TNT title next week. When he's asked who against, Orange Cassidy comes out and gives a thumbs up. Cody gives one back. We're then told 3 more competitors who are in the number 1 contenders tournament. They are Hangman, Wardlow, and Colt Cabana. Backstage interview with Omega, who says it's good to be a singles competitor again. Kenny also says that he wins tournaments all the time, and he doesn't care that Hangman is in the tournament because he'll beat everyone anyway. Then we get Serena Deeb vs Big Swole. Good match. Swole wins by pinfall with a rolling elbow. Then we see Mox, who was in a bar and says that he hasn't had much time to celebrate his last match. But he does know that one day he will lose and no one beats Lance Archer. They just survive him. But Moxley's not going to lay down for Archer. Archer is also going to have to pry the title from his cold dead hands. And it's like Archer always says, everybody dies. Main event time, and it's the Inner Circle, that being Jericho and Hager with the rest of Inner Circle, versus Chaos Project. During the match, Jericho calls for Floyd, but Luther catches it and uses it and still can't put Jericho away. Pretty good match. Inner Circle win by pinfall after Jericho hits the Judas Effect on Luther. During Chaos Project's entrance, even more celebrities congratulate Jericho on 30 years in the business. To close the show, Jericho gets on the mic and thanks everyone, and at that point MJF and Wardlow come out with something under a pink sheet. MJF says he respects Jericho and wants to be a part of the celebration. It's revealed that under the sheet is Claudico Le Clown. Claudico is holding another gift, which Jericho takes. MJF tells Sammy that he's getting his jacket soon and says that he wants Jericho to be there for MJF's career-defining announcement that will take place next week. Jericho unwraps his present, and it's a portrait of MJF, which he smashes over Claudico's head before hitting the Judas Effect, because he hates clowns. Jericho then tells MJF not to interrupt him ever again. They then stare at each other before laughing. MJF says that Jericho almost got him there. Jericho then thanks the crowd again, and most of the heel roster come out to celebrate. Credits roll to close the show, and everything is Chris Jericho. All the cameraman, the producers, all that shit, Chris Jericho. Moving on to NXT, and this week it starts with a recap of what happened at TakeOver. We then kick the show off with Kushida versus Ciampa. Pretty good match. Ciampa wins by DQ when Dream misses Kushida and hits Ciampa. Post-match, Kushida takes out Dream. Ember Moon is out next, and Ember says that she's going to do what she wants, and she wants some gold. Io then comes out, and as Io is about to talk, Rhea comes out. Rhea says that she starts talking, and is blindsided by Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. Ember helps Rhea out, and Regal comes out and says that we'll have a tag match in the main event. We then see earlier today Drake Maverick showing up, and he says that he and Dane have been talking about the tag team. Dane shows up and continues to say that they're not a team. Maverick says that he got them booked to face Everrise. Dane looks like he wants to break Maverick in half, but he leaves instead. Backstage interview with Io, and she is asked why she didn't help Rhea, and just before, why she didn't help Rhea just before. Io says it wasn't her problem, We then get a recap of what happened at the end of TakeOver. Then we have Cole in the era, and Cole says Ridge broke some of Cole's ribs, and now he's a dead man, and that's undisputed. We then have Everrise vs Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Great match, very funny. Dane and Maverick won by pinfall after Dane powerbombed Maverick on top of Chase Parker. We then get a hype package for Toni Storm. We then see the Garganos walking their dog and talking about TakeOver. When they get home, there's a new TV that was sent there by Indy Hartwell. Then we get Leon Ruff vs Austin Theory. Good match, showcase match for Leon Ruff. Austin Theory won by pinfall after hitting the ATL. Post-match, Theory gets on the mic and calls out Cole and declares himself the future of NXT, and Dexter Lumis shows up. We then have Dexter Lumis vs Austin Theory. Pretty good match. Lumis wins by submission when Theory passes out to the silence. Post-match, Cameron Grimes hits the cave-in on Lumis. Backstage interview with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Raquel says she will finish Rhea tonight, and Dakota says that if Ember wants a shot at the NXT Women's title, she needs to get behind her in the line. Backstage, Grimes says that everyone will learn not to mess with him, and he's going to the moon. Because that's his catchphrase, he's going to the moon. We then have a look at the NXT title match at TakeOver. Earlier in the day, we see Ridge Holland. He says that last week he didn't have a Mercedes. This week he does, and that's thanks to Adam Cole. Backstage interview with Damian Priest, who asks who is next to challenge for his title. Then we have Ridge Holland versus Danny Burch. Good match. Holland wins by pinfall with Northern Grit. Post-match, Holland attacked Burch until Lorcan came down at the end, and he and Ridge brawled. And Ridge also got injured and I think he did both ankles and the knee or something like that. So he's going to be out for 6 to 9 months apparently. We then see the Garganos, who are watching a video that was on a USB that came with the TV that Indy sent, and it shows Indy saving Candice multiple times during the Battle Royal. We then get more Thatch Can Wrestling. Then we see Ridge Holland being carted off on a stretcher. After that, we get Shotzi versus Xia Li. Decent match. Shotzi won by pinfall after hitting the senton. Post-match, Bulwa comes out with a letter and hands it to Xia Li. The two then walk off together. Main event time, and it's Rhea Ripley and Ember Moon versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. Pretty good match. Ember and Rhea won by pinfall after Ember hit the Eclipse on Kai. Moving on to NXT UK, and it starts with Xia Brookside and Danny Luna versus Amal or something. Amal? Something like that. I think it's Amal. And Nina Samuels. Towards the end of the match, Samuels leaves Amal high and dry after Amal tagged herself in. Decent match. Brookside and Luna won by pinfall after Xia hits the Brooksy bomb into a power bomb. Backstage, we see Ilya Dragunov, and he finds Sid Scala and says he wants Wolf and Volta next week. Scala asks who his partner is. He points at Dunn, who was already talking to Scala when Dragunov showed up. Dunn accepts, and Scala makes the match official. Backstage interview with Piper Niven, who is asked what she thinks of KLR addressing the state of the women's division. Niven says that there will be a few people there to shut her up. Then we get Jack Stars versus Saxon Huxley. Good match. Huxley wins by pinfall after hitting a reverse big ending. We then take a look at Gallus, their journey through the Indies and all the way to winning the tag titles. Backstage interview with Pretty Deadly, who were asked what Eddie Dennis was talking to them about. They say, Nanya. Then we see Xia Brookside and Danny Luna, who are asked their thoughts on KLR addressing the women's division. Xia says that Kaylee Ray needs to watch what she says, or she'll find out how many enemies she has. Main event time, and it's a first round match in the Heritage Cup between A-Kid and Flash Morgan Webster. Webster gets the first fall 3 minutes into the second round. A-Kid gets the second one 1 minute 49 in the fourth round. Pretty good match. A-Kid wins with an omoplata with 3 seconds to go in the fifth round. We then look at the rivalry between Volta and Ilya Dragunov. We then see Mark Andrews and Primate gets him because something's happened to Flash Morgan Webster. Kaylee Ray is out to close the show, and she says that nobody's going to take her title from her. And at that point, Xia Brookside, Danny Luna, Isla Dawn, and Nina Samuels come to the ring, which causes Amal to come down to the ring, and her and Samuel start arguing. Niven then shows up and pushes Samuel and Amal, so they double team Niven. Aoife Valkyrie then attacks Kaylee Ray, and Dawn, Luna, and Xia get in the ring, but Kaylee Ray manages to escape. A brawl starts, and when Kaylee Ray gets to the top of the stage, Ginny comes down and attacks her. In the end, Valkyrie takes out everyone except Kaylee Ray, who managed to get away. Moving on to SmackDown, and we start SmackDown with Stephanie McMahon to kick off the draft. Raw picks McIntyre, Asuka, and the Hurt Business. SmackDown picks Reigns and Rollins. It went Raw, SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown, Raw. But the way that I'm doing it is just I'll read off who Raw picked and who SmackDown picked. They are in order, so if you just look at it like McIntyre, then Reigns, then Asuka, then Rollins, then Hurt Business, you'll be right. Backstage interview with Rollins, who says he's glad to be coming to SmackDown because he's been on Raw his entire career. He also says that he's a little upset that he won't get to see the Mysterio family implode, but at least he'll never have to see them again. Then we get Big E versus Sheamus in a Falls Count Anywhere match. During the match, Big E finds some bootios under the ring. Pretty good match. Big E wins by pinfall after hitting the big ending off a car through a table. Next we have Jey Uso, who comes out and confronts Reigns. While Jey is coming out, we see what happened 2 weeks ago when Reigns attacked Jey. Jey asks Roman what the stipulation for their Hell in a Cell match is, but he gets no answer, which is pretty funny, considering the stipulation for their match is Hell in a Cell. And now he's asking what the stipulation is. Now, I do know that there is a second stipulation, which we will get to very, very soon. When I finish talking about this segment. But, yeah. We already knew that it was Hell in a Cell. My point is that he's asking what the stipulation is for their stipulation match. Pretty funny. Paul Heyman eventually shows up on the Tron and says Reigns will show up when he wants. Heyman then issues a warning for everyone that wants to step to Roman, which includes a video package showing what Reigns did to Jey at Clash. We then see Reigns, who says he tried to help Jey and all he wanted to do was have Jey acknowledge Reigns as the tribal chief. And inside Hell in a Cell, it will also be an I Quit match. Backstage, while we are waiting for Roman, the New Day reunite, and they say that they're missing the tag titles. Round 2 of the draft is next. Raw picks Styles, Naomi, and Nia and Shayna. SmackDown picks Sasha and Bianca Belair. Styles sends in a promo where he says that he is relieved to be going to Raw because he shouldn't be surrounded by cheaters. My problem with that is that Styles come from Raw to SmackDown about, 6 weeks ago? Tops. Like, he's been on SmackDown for bugger all time, and now he's going back to Raw. It's just stupid. Almost as stupid as drafting Cena's a SmackDown, and then at the start of the night, and then at the end of the night, drafting him back to Raw. But, yeah, whatever. Then we have Miz and Morrison versus Jeff Hardy and Matt Riddle. Good match. Riddle and Jeff win by pinfall after Riddle hits Bro Derek on Miz. Post-match, Sullivan returns. So Lars Sullivan is back after a year and a half or something. He takes out Riddle and Jeff and the Miz. Before Lars gets a hold of Miz, he has to do a tug-of-war with Morrison using the Miz. It was like Morrison had his arms Lars had his legs tug of war. And that's quite funny. Mostly because, I mean, obviously, like I said, I like horror movies. Could you imagine if you just sort of split in half? That'd be funny. It'd be funny and it would be weird and stupid, and apparently somebody wants to do the lawn. So I think that you'll probably be able to pick up the lawnmower. So yeah. Anyway, moving on, round 3 of the draft. Raw picks Ricochet, Mandy Rose, and Miz and Morrison. SmackDown picks Jey Uso and Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Rey and Dominic then say that they're now going to kick Rollins' ass on SmackDown. Then we get Sasha Banks vs Bayley with the SmackDown Women's Championship on the line. Decent match. Sasha wins by DQ when Bayley uses a chair. Post-match, they continue to brawl, and Sasha gains the upper hand using the chair. We then see what happened last week on the show. Well, not even on the show. On the Kevin Owens show. Backstage, we see Owens getting ready, and Bliss walks up and says to let him in. Then we have Cesaro and Nakamura versus the New Day, that being Kofi and Woods, with the SmackDown tag titles on the line. Pretty good match. New Day won after Kofi hit Trouble in Paradise and Woods hit an elbow drop from the top rope on Nakamura. Final round of the draft on SmackDown, and Raw picks the New Day, Dana Brooke, Angel Garza. SmackDown picks Big E and Otis. When I said the New Day, I only meant Kofi and Woods. So yes, they are officially split up. Backstage we see Heavy Machinery, and they're handed another envelope, and the letter inside says that Miz is postponing the trial. We then see what happened earlier during the SmackDown Women's title match. Sasha then says that Bayley is a coward and challenges Bayley to a Hell in a Cell match. Main event time, and it's Kevin Owens versus The Fiend. Good match. Fiend wins by pinfall after locking in the Mandible Claw. Bliss and The Fiend stare at each other, and Owens... they stare at each other and at Owens from the top of the ramp to close the show. There's the lawnmower. On Talking Smack, it's announced that we will get Bayley and Sasha for the SmackDown Women's title at Hell in a Cell. So, for the 3 matches that we have confirmed, it's Drew and Randy, which Randy will win. Jay and Roman, which Roman will win. And Bayley and Sasha, which most likely Sasha will win. I'm not entirely sure on that one yet. They're not official because we haven't done the predictions video, so I can change them all I like. However, the first time, 99% sure. We also have a round of drafts on Talking Smack. And Raw picks Humberto Carrillo, Drew Gulak, and Tucker. SmackDown picks Murphy and Kalisto. So yeah. Now we'll move on to 205 Live, and this week it starts with Ari Daivari versus Jake Atlas. Good match. Atlas wins by DQ when Nese hits the running Nese on Atlas. Post-match, Daivari hits the Hammerlock Lariat. We then have a look at what's been happening between Brian Kendrick and Ashanti the Adonis. We then have a hype package for the Bollywood Boys. Then we take a look at what happened during the Cruiserweight title at TakeOver 31. Main event time, and it's Ashanti the Adonis versus Brian Kendrick. Pretty good match. Adonis wins by pinfall with a super kick that he calls the Long Kiss Goodnight. Post-match, Kendrick shakes Adonis' hand before leaving. Moving on to the G1. As of right now, in A block, standings are Switchblade, Ospreay, Ibushi, Okada on 10 points. Ishii, Suzuki, Taichi, Cobb, Shingo on 6. Yujiro Takahashi on 0. Anyone not on 10 points cannot win the G1. So it's between Switchblade, Ospreay, Ibushi, and Okada. I've still got Switchblade winning because out of all them, Ospreay's the only one that has beaten him, and I think Switchblade will win all of his matches. It doesn't matter if Ibushi wins all of his matches or not, because they're going to be tied, and since Switchblade beat Ibushi, Switchblade wins. Ospreay, well, we'll get to that in a second, but Okada and Ospreay are pretty much guaranteed to win at least one more, I guess. and then they fight each other. So, as long as Okada beats Ospreay, Switchblade wins. And B block, the standings are Naito on 10, Evil on 8, Tanahashi, Yano, Juice, Sonata, Zack Sabre Jr. and Goto on 6. Kenta on 4, Yoshihashi on 2. Yoshihashi can't win the G1. So, that's been it for this episode of the podcast. People like to do the lawn while I'm doing the friggin' podcast, which is just great. However, because they're doing the lawn, I will quickly wrap this up. Like and share the video. Follow our Facebook and Twitter. Links to those are in the description. Let me know what the volume's like on this too, because it's I've changed it around a little bit. So let me know that in the comments. Like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell if you want. I don't care if you do or not, but you probably should, so you know when we post. And other than that, thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night.